In Boston, one of the most respected pediatricians in the country was about to discover that sometimes the greatest miracles happen in the most unexpected places. What she didn't know was that a 9-year-old girl picking up crumbs off the ground would change her life forever. There are moments that split our lives into before and after. For Dr. Sarah Mitchell, that moment came on a rainy Thursday at 6:20 p.m. in the small park across from Boston Children's Hospital, when a barefoot girl began eating the pieces of bread Sarah had tossed to the pigeons. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand what it means to be one of Boston's most renowned pediatricians at 35 years old and still feel completely empty inside. Sarah woke up every day at 5:30, arrived at the hospital by 7, treated about 20 children a day, and saved lives. Her professional life was flawless, but her personal life was in shambles. That Thursday, Sarah had left the hospital earlier than usual. She had lost a patient that morning and needed some air before heading home to face another silent dinner with David, her lawyer husband. As she always did when she needed to think, she went to the small park across from the hospital to feed the pigeons. It was her way to decompress. 5 quiet minutes tossing breadcrumbs while sorting out her thoughts. That's when she saw her. Small, skinny, wearing a torn gray hoodie. The girl appeared from behind the trees and silently knelt on the ground where Sarah had scattered the bread. To Sarah's horror, and that of a few passers-by, Maya began eating the crumbs off the ground, competing with the pigeons. "Oh my God, she's eating the pigeons' food," whispered an older woman passing by. Sarah felt her world freeze. It wasn't disgust she felt. It was something deeper. A visceral pain, an instinct that had been buried for years. The scene stirred something in her that had long been dormant. The maternal instinct she'd suppressed after 5 years of failed attempts to get pregnant and over $80,000 spent on fertility treatments. "Sweetheart," she called gently, walking over carefully. "Are you hungry?" The eyes that lifted to meet hers were dark brown, deep and intense, in stark contrast to the pale, dirt-streaked face. The girl didn't respond. She just stared, cautious, like someone who had learned far too early that kindness often comes with strings attached. Sarah opened her bag and pulled out the sandwich she had bought earlier from a pricey Beacon Hill cafe. A small irony given the moment. "Here, take it. It's clean and fresh," she offered, holding it out. The girl snatched it quickly and began eating with a hunger that made Sarah's chest tighten. She ate like someone afraid it might be taken away at any second. "What's your name?" Sarah asked, sitting carefully on the nearby bench. The answer came so slowly that Sarah thought it wouldn't come at all. When she finally spoke, her voice was just a whisper. "Maya. Where's your family, Maya?" The girl looked up at the sky, heavy with rain. "Mom's in the hospital. She's going to die," she said with unsettling calm. "The doctor said it's just a matter of days." Her words hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. A 9-year-old talking about her mother's death with that kind of resignation. "And your dad? Any other relatives?" "Dad left when I was a baby. Aunt Carmen said she can't keep me because she has her own kids. When Mom dies, I'll go to an orphanage." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. The way Maya described her future so coldly, so plainly, was devastating. "Where have you been sleeping?" "Sometimes at the hospital, near Mom's room. Sometimes here in the park. The security guards are nice. They don't make me leave." At that moment, the first drops of rain began to fall. Maya didn't move. She stayed seated on the ground as if rain were just one more challenge on a long list of hardships. "Maya," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she expected. "How about coming with me tonight? I can give you a warm meal and a dry place to sleep." Maya looked up at her with those haunting brown eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. That was the exact moment Sarah Mitchell's life split in two, before that look and after it. "You're a doctor?" Maya asked, noticing the stethoscope around Sarah's neck. "Yes, I'm a pediatrician. I work right over there," she pointed to the hospital. "You know my mom? Jennifer Santos, room 314. Sarah knew the case. Jennifer Santos, 28 years old, in an irreversible coma after a car accident. Her prognosis was terminal. "I do know her," she said gently, "and I'll take good care of you while she can't." Maya hesitated, then slowly nodded. At 9 years old, it was as if she already understood she didn't have many choices. Sarah reached out and Maya took her hand. Her hands were small, cold, trembling. "My car's right over there," Sarah said, pointing to a blue BMW. "Let's get out of this rain." As they walked, Sarah texted David, "I'll be late. Medical emergency." It wasn't a lie. A child in that kind of vulnerability was absolutely an emergency. In the car, Maya stayed silent, watching the city blur past through the foggy window. "Where do you live?" she finally asked. "In Beacon Hill," Sarah replied. "It's a big, warm house. I think you'll like it." "And your husband?" The question showed a maturity far beyond her age. "David, he'll understand," Sarah said, though she wasn't sure herself. "How do you explain to a pragmatic man that you brought an orphaned child home out of pure instinct?" By the time they reached the elegant red brick house, the rain had gotten heavier. Sarah looked at Maya, soaked, shivering, yet holding on to a kind of quiet dignity. "Welcome to your new home," Sarah said, and for the first time in years, she felt like her house might actually become a home. Maya looked at the grand house, then at Sarah. "For how long?" she asked plainly. Sarah didn't have an answer. All she knew was that she couldn't let this child face the world alone. "For as long as you need," she replied, and though she didn't know it yet, this would be the first of many promises that would change both their lives forever. The red brick Georgian home in Beacon Hill had always been a place of order and silence. Antique furniture perfectly arranged, every object in its designated spot. A home that mirrored Sarah and David's professional success, but echoed with the emptiness of rooms that would never cradle children. Until that rainy Thursday. As the door opened, the aroma of gourmet coffee drifted toward Maya, filling her senses. It was such a foreign smell to her world that she hesitated on the threshold, as if that scent marked an invisible line she wasn't sure she was allowed to cross. "Come in, sweetheart. You'll catch a cold," Sarah said gently, placing a warm hand on the girl's shoulder. The polished wooden floors under Maya's bare feet made her shiver. Her wet clothes dripped small puddles on the floor, something Sarah, usually so meticulous about the house, strangely chose to ignore. "Let's get you out of those wet clothes," she said, returning with soft towels. "You can take a hot shower." But Maya didn't move. Her brown eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail, every possible exit. Distrust was a shield she had worn for far too long. "It's okay," Sarah said, recognizing that look. "You're safe here." Once the bathroom door closed, Sarah leaned against the wall, her hands trembling. What was she doing? David would be home in 2 hours. How was she going to explain Maya? In the kitchen, Sarah started making hot chocolate while trying to piece her thoughts together. The answer was buried somewhere in 5 years of failed pregnancies, in a nursery that never held a crib. 15 minutes later, Maya stood quietly in the kitchen doorway. The oversized t-shirt swallowed her tiny frame, but her clean face revealed a delicate beauty. Large eyes, framed by long lashes. "Come on in," Sarah invited, motioning to the counter. "The hot chocolate's almost ready." Maya obeyed, perching on the edge of the stool, ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. The steaming drink was served in fine porcelain. Maya stared at it like it was a treasure, hesitant to touch it. "It's okay to drink," Sarah encouraged. "It's for you." With trembling fingers, Maya picked up the cup. Her eyes widened at the creamy taste, and soon she was sipping like someone who hadn't had anything warm in days. "When was the last time you had a real meal?" Sarah asked. "Tuesday. Aunt Carmen gave me a sandwich," Maya answered, as if that were normal. "But she said she can't help anymore." Sarah's heart tightened. "And your mom? When did the accident happen?" 3 months ago. She was coming home from work when a truck hit her car. The doctors said her brain doesn't work right anymore. Do you visit her every day? Yeah. I stay in the hallway 'cause sometimes they won't let me in. But I sing her the songs she liked. Real quiet. Sarah's eyes welled up. And when did the doctors tell you about the timeline? Yesterday. They said it's a matter of hours or maybe a few days. Maya shrugged. I already knew it was coming. At that moment, the sound of a key turning in the lock echoed through the house. David was home. Maya immediately tensed, her body stiff. Her eyes scanned the room again, looking for exits. That's my husband, Sarah said softly. David's a good man. David Mitchell stepped into the kitchen, tall, wearing a sharp suit. with perfectly combed gray hair. He froze when he saw Maya. "Sarah?" His voice was laced with surprise and barely concealed frustration. "David, this is Maya. She'll be staying with us tonight." The silence that followed was thick with tension. "Can we talk?" David asked, using the calm tone he reserved for courtroom negotiations. In the study, he shut the door firmly. "Sarah, what's going on? Where did this child come from?" "I found her in the park, eating breadcrumbs off the ground. Her mom's in a terminal coma. She has no one." "And you brought her into our house, without even talking to me? Was I supposed to leave a 9-year-old sleeping in the street? There are social services for that, Sarah. Orphanages. And we're not suitable?" The words slipped out, heavy with pain. David let out a slow sigh. "That's not what I'm saying. Look at us, Sarah. 5 years trying to have kids. 3 miscarriages. How much did we spend on treatments? What did it cost us emotionally?" "Exactly," Sarah replied. "Maybe this is our chance. To get attached to a child who'll be gone tomorrow when social services come for her?" Sarah didn't have an answer. All she knew was that she couldn't imagine letting Maya go. "Just for tonight," she said finally. David looked at his wife, saw the fire in her eyes, a passion he hadn't seen in years. "All right, but tomorrow, we talk to a caseworker." When they returned to the kitchen, Maya was exactly where they had left her, clutching the empty mug in her hands. "It's okay," Sarah said. "David agrees you can stay tonight." Maya looked from David to Sarah. "Thank you," she said simply, but there was genuine relief in her voice. "Are you hungry? I can make something for dinner. I don't want to be a bother." The answer, far too mature for a child, broke something inside Sarah. "You're not a bother. You're our guest." As Sarah prepared dinner, David watched Maya quietly. The girl carried herself with a natural dignity that didn't match her circumstances. "Do you like school?" he asked. "I did. I stopped going when Mom got sick. I needed to stay near her." "What do you like the most?" "Books. Mom taught me to read when I was little." David exchanged a glance with Sarah, a smart kid caught in heartbreaking circumstances. Dinner passed quietly. Maya ate slowly, savoring every bite. Sarah watched every gesture, committing them to memory. "Maya," David said after they finished, "tomorrow we'll speak to people who can help you officially." Maya nodded, as if she already expected that. "Will they send me to an orphanage?" The direct question caught David off guard. "We'll find the best place for you," he replied carefully. "Okay," Maya said with quiet acceptance that shattered Sarah's heart. "At least tonight I get to sleep in a real bed." Later, after Maya had fallen asleep in the guest room, Sarah and David lay awake in bed. "She's special," Sarah said softly. "She is," David agreed, surprising her. "But that makes this even more complicated. Not easier." Sarah knew he was right. But as she listened to the house, the silence now filled with the gentle presence of a child, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Maya's first morning in the Mitchells' home began with confusion. As she opened her eyes and saw the unfamiliar ceiling, panic set in. Where was she? Then she felt the soft mattress beneath her, the warm blanket, the scent of freshly laundered clothes, and the memories came rushing back. The park, the rain, the doctor who had brought her home. She looked around the room for the first time in daylight. White walls, linen curtains, an antique dresser, and an oval mirror. It looked like something out of a magazine, far too perfect for someone like her. Maya got up carefully, as if afraid she might break something just by moving. The oversized t-shirt she wore dragged on the floor as she walked slowly toward the door, listening to the sounds of the house, pots clinking in the kitchen, quiet voices, the ticking of an old clock. As soon as she built up the courage to open the door, the smell of coffee and toast wrapped around her. She followed the hallway and found Sarah in the kitchen, her back turned, making breakfast. "Good morning," Maya said, her voice small and unsure. Sarah turned around with a smile that lit up her entire face. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep well?" Maya nodded, still cautious. In her experience, kindness often came with a price. "What do I have to do?" she asked, looking for a way to earn her place. "Do? You don't have to do anything. Just sit and enjoy your breakfast." The table was set with a care Maya had never known. Fresh orange juice, warm milk, golden toast, strawberry jam. It was a feast compared to what she was used to. All this is for me? She asked in disbelief. Of course it is. Sit down, sweetheart. With hesitation, Maya took a seat, watching Sarah's every move like she was studying a ritual she didn't quite understand. Where's David? She asked, remembering Sarah's husband. He left early for the office. He told me to tell you good morning. It was a lie. David had left early to avoid the awkwardness of the morning, but Sarah didn't want Maya to feel rejected. As they ate, Sarah quietly observed Maya's gestures, how she savored each bite, how her eyes constantly scanned the room, always on alert, how she quietly tucked a piece of toast into her shirt pocket. Maya, you don't have to hide food. If you're ever hungry, just ask. The girl froze, caught in the act. Sorry, she whispered, lowering her head. I'm not mad. I just want you to know, you won't go hungry here. Maya's brown eyes looked up, puzzled. Why? Why are you being nice to me? The question hit Sarah like a wave. What kind of world teaches a child to distrust simple kindness? Because every child deserves to be treated with love. And because… She paused. How do you explain that you see in someone the daughter you never had? Because you remind me that there are things more important than work, she finally said. After breakfast, Sarah called the hospital to let them know she'd be arriving late. Maya's situation had to come first. We're going to the hospital, she said. You'd like to see your mom, right? For the first time, Maya's eyes lit up. Can I really? Of course. And we'll also talk to the social workers. The ride to Boston Children's Hospital was quiet. Maya stared out the window of the BMW, taking in a city that had always been around her, but never felt like it belonged to her. At the hospital, Sarah arranged for special permission so Maya could visit the ICU. When they reached room 314, Maya hesitated at the door. Jennifer Santos was connected to a tangle of machines, tubes and wires, stretching from her still body. The steady beep of the monitors was the only sign that life still lingered. Hi, Mommy, Maya whispered, stepping close to the bed. I brought a friend to meet you. She's a doctor. Sarah's eyes welled up. The way Maya spoke to her unconscious mother, so gently, so naturally, was both touching and heartbreaking. She's been sleeping for a long time, Maya explained, but I think she hears me when I talk. Sarah studied the monitors with a clinical eye. Jennifer Santos was in a deep coma with no significant brain activity. The prognosis was final. Can I have a minute alone with her? Maya asked. Sarah stepped out, watching through the glass. Maya took her mother's hand and whispered something only they could share. Then she softly sang a Spanish lullaby, her sweet voice drifting through the silent room. 15 minutes later, Maya came out, eyes red but tearless. Ready? Sarah asked gently. Maya nodded. The hospital's social work office was small and efficient. Margaret Torres, the senior caseworker, greeted them with warmth and professionalism. So you're Maya, she said with a smile. Dr. Mitchell told me about you. I am, Maya replied, sitting upright in her chair. Sweetheart, I need to explain what's going to happen next. Margaret looked at Sarah, who gave an encouraging nod. Your mom is very sick. The doctors don't believe she's going to get better. Do you understand that? Maya nodded calmly. Yes, I already knew. When that happens, you'll need a place to live. A permanent one. The orphanage, Maya said flatly. Not necessarily. There are families who want to care for children. Families who can't have their own. Maya looked at Sarah, then back to Margaret. Like Sarah. The question caught both women off guard. That could be a possibility, Margaret said carefully. But there's a process. Assessments. It takes time. How much time? Sarah asked, surprising even herself. Months, maybe a year or more. And where would Maya stay in the meantime? In a temporary foster home? Or, if someone were willing to become a temporary guardian? Sarah and Maya exchanged a look. Something unspoken passed between them. I'd like to apply for temporary guardianship, Sarah said. The words out before she could second-guess herself. Margaret took notes carefully. That would involve interviews, background checks, home visits, and your husband. Would he agree? Sarah hesitated just a moment. Yes, he would. She hoped that was true. 2 hours later, they left the hospital with a folder full of paperwork and a date for the first official interview. In the car, Maya stayed quiet until they reached home. Sarah, she said finally, do you really want me to stay? Very much, Sarah answered, realizing just how true it was. What if David doesn't want me? Then we'll convince him. And what if I'm hard to live with? Sometimes I'm difficult. Sarah smiled as she pulled into the driveway. Maya, everyone's difficult sometimes. That doesn't change anything. That night, after Maya had fallen asleep in the guest room, Sarah waited for David to get home. He finally walked in at 10 p.m. And she was sitting in the living room, waiting. "We need to talk," she said. David poured himself a whiskey before sitting down. "I already know. Margaret Torres called me at the office." "And?" "Sarah, you applied for temporary guardianship without even talking to me. It was the right thing to do." "For who? For you or for her?" "For both of us." David took a long sip, studying her face. "Are you sure about this? Because once we start this process, there's no turning back. That little girl will get attached to us, and we'll get attached to her." "I already have," Sarah admitted. "Since the moment I saw her in the park." David let out a deep breath. "Then I guess we're going to be parents after all." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "Is that a yes?" "It's a, let's try. Let's hope we know what we're doing." Sarah hugged her husband, overwhelmed with something she hadn't felt in years. Real, tangible hope. Upstairs, Maya had been listening through the cracked door. For the first time in months, she fell asleep with a smile on her face. 3 days later, Sarah got the call she'd been dreading. It was 5 in the morning when the phone rang, waking the entire house. "Dr. Mitchell, this is Dr. Patterson from the ICU. Jennifer Santos. She went into cardiac arrest during the night. We were able to resuscitate her, but she's very unstable." Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the news. "How much time?" "Hours. Maybe until the end of the day. You should bring Maya." Sarah turned to see Maya standing in the doorway, eyes still heavy with sleep, but already sensing the truth. "It's about my mom, isn't it?" she asked, her voice too calm for a child. Sarah walked over slowly, kneeling to meet Maya's gaze. "Yes, sweetheart. Your mom. She's very sick. The doctors think today might be her last day." Maya froze for a second, then shook her head fiercely. "No, she can't die today. She can't." "Maya, no!" Her voice rose sharply. "She promised she'd get better. She said she'd wake up." David appeared at the door, having heard the shouting. Maya ran to him, pounding her small fists against his chest. "They're lying. My mom's not going to die. She's strong." Sarah recognized the signs. Maya was in denial, the first stage of grief she'd seen so many patients pass through. "Sweetheart, let's go to the hospital. You can be with her." "To save her?" Maya asked, a spark of hope flickering in her eyes. Sarah hesitated. How do you tell a child that not every story has a happy ending? "To say goodbye," she answered gently. The drive to the hospital was tense. Maya said nothing, staring silently out the window. When they reached the ICU, she stopped in front of room 314. Jennifer Santos looked paler than ever, now hooked up to even more machines. The monitors beeped unevenly, shifting between steady pulses and soft alarms. "Hi, Mom," Maya whispered as she approached the bed. "I came to get you. It's time to go home." Sarah's heart tightened. Maya was still clinging to hope. "Mom, wake up. Sarah made pancakes for you. Your favorite ones." When Jennifer didn't respond, Maya became more agitated. "Mom, wake up! I need you!" She began shaking her mother's arm gently, then more insistently. Sarah tried to step in, but Maya pushed her away. "No! Leave her alone! She's just sleeping!" It was Dr. Patterson who finally managed to calm her down, speaking gently about the coma, about how sometimes people have to let go. "But she promised," Maya sobbed. "She promised she'd stay with me." "Sometimes," Dr. Patterson said softly, "people break promises not because they want to, but because they can't keep them." Maya stayed by her mother's side for hours, holding her cold hand, talking about school, about Sarah and David, about learning how to make pancakes. At 3 in the afternoon, the monitors started to slow. "Maya," Sarah said softly, "it's time." "No," Maya whispered, but this time her voice lacked the resistance it had before. "I'm not ready. No one ever is, sweetheart." Maya looked at her mother, then at Sarah. "Can I sing to her? The song she liked?" "Of course." Maya sang a lullaby in Spanish, her voice trembling through the tears. At 4:15 in the afternoon, Jennifer Santos passed away peacefully, her daughter holding her hand. Maya didn't cry right away. She sat in silence, watching her mother's peaceful face. "She looks less tired," she said quietly. The days that followed were hard. Maya moved through each stage of grief with intense emotion. Anger. She yelled at Sarah for not saving her mother. Bargaining. She promised to be the perfect daughter if God would bring her mom back. Depression. She went 3 days without speaking, refusing to eat. "She's not okay," Sarah told Dr. Rodriguez, the psychologist. "It's not normal for a child to grieve like this." "It's actually perfectly normal," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "Maya is doing exactly what she needs to. Grief has no timeline." Sarah learned to respect Maya's process. When the girl wanted to be alone, she let her be. When Maya appeared in the middle of the night needing to talk about her mother, Sarah listened. "I'm mad at her," Maya confessed one night, 2 weeks after the funeral. "At your mom?" "Yeah, for leaving me, for breaking her promise. It's okay to feel angry when we lose someone, but I also feel guilty for being mad. She didn't choose to die." Sarah pulled her into a hug, amazed by the depth of understanding in someone so young. You can feel both, anger and love. They're not opposites. A month after Jennifer's death, Maya had a breakdown at school. Her teacher called Sarah. Maya started crying during art class when we did a project about families. We couldn't calm her down. Sarah rushed to the school and found Maya curled up in the nurse's office. "What happened, sweetheart?" "Everyone drew their families. I didn't know what to draw. My mom died, and you're not really my mom. I don't know where I belong." It was the moment Sarah had feared, the day Maya would confront the complexity of her reality. "Maya, look at me. Families come in all shapes. Your mom will always be your mom. That doesn't change. But now you also have David and me. That doesn't erase her. It adds to her. Can I draw all of you?" "Of course you can." Maya drew a picture Sarah would treasure forever. Jennifer in the sky, with angel wings, looking down at Maya holding hands with Sarah and David. At the bottom she wrote, "My family in heaven and on earth." 3 months after Jennifer's death, Maya finally reached acceptance. It happened during a session with Dr. Rodriguez. "How do you feel now about your mom's passing?" the psychologist asked. "Sad, but not lost," Maya replied. "She's not suffering anymore, and I have Sarah and David now. I think that's what she wanted." "Why do you think that?" "Because she always said love doesn't end when someone dies. And I feel her love when Sarah hugs me, when David helps me with homework. It's like she sent them to take care of me." Watching from the next room, Sarah cried. Not out of grief, but out of pride for the incredible strength of that little girl. That night, Maya appeared at the door of their bedroom for the first time in weeks. "Sarah." "Mom?" It was the first time she'd called her that since Jennifer passed. "Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for letting me be sad the way I needed to. For not making me pretend I was okay." Sarah embraced her, understanding now that healing isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about learning how to carry love along with it. Always, Maya. Always. And for the first time since losing her mother, Maya slept through the night without nightmares, knowing it was possible to be the daughter of 2 mothers at once. One in heaven, and one right here on earth. 6 months had passed since Maya arrived at the Mitchells' home. Autumn had painted Boston in golden tones, and life had settled into a gentle rhythm. Maya woke up every morning at 7, had breakfast with Sarah, and rode the yellow school bus to class. At Louisburg Square Elementary, Maya quickly stood out. Her natural intelligence impressed the teachers. She devoured books, completed every assignment with care, and slowly began to make friends. "How was school today?" Sarah asked every afternoon. "Good, Mrs. Henderson said my essay on family was the best in class." Sarah beamed with pride. Maya had written about families that are built by choice, not by chance. Weekly sessions with Dr. Elena Rodriguez also showed steady progress. Maya was processing her grief in a healthy way and learning to trust again. "She's recovering remarkably well," Dr. Rodriguez told Sarah and David. "Children are resilient, but Maya was lucky to find you." At home, small routines had formed. Sarah taught Maya how to cook on Saturdays. David helped her with math on Tuesdays. Sundays became movie night. Maya had also started piano lessons. It didn't take long to discover she had a natural talent for music. "Can I play the song my mom used to sing to me?" she asked one day. Mr. Kowalski, her piano teacher, smiled. Of course. Sing me the melody. Maya softly sang the Spanish lullaby. When Sarah arrived to pick her up, she found Maya playing the tune by ear, eyes closed. That was my mom's favorite song, Maya explained in the car. Now I can play it whenever I miss her. Sarah swallowed the lump in her throat. Maya's emotional depth often caught her off guard. At the hospital, Sarah had become an even more passionate advocate for children. Her experience with Maya had made her more attuned to the emotional needs of her young patients. One afternoon, while Maya was doing homework in the kitchen, she suddenly paused. Sarah? Mom? Sarah stopped chopping vegetables, smiling. Maya still alternated between calling her by name and calling her Mom. Yes, sweetheart. Today at school, Tommy Peterson said I'm not really your daughter because I wasn't born from your belly. Sarah sat beside her. And what did you say? I told him family isn't about where you come from. It's about where you belong. And I belong here. Sarah pulled her into a hug, deeply moved. You are absolutely right. 2 weeks later, Margaret Torres came by for her quarterly visit. She inspected the home, spoke with Maya, and took notes. Maya is thriving here, she told Sarah. Her grades are excellent, and the psychologist's reports are very positive. And the adoption process? It's progressing. No relatives have come forward to claim custody. Her biological father has relinquished his rights. In a few months, you'll be eligible to file the final petition. Sarah felt a mix of relief and anxiety. What if something goes wrong? Sarah, Margaret said kindly, you're already a family. The paperwork is just a formality. That night, during dinner, David made an announcement. The firm's offering me a promotion. Partnership. Maya paused mid-bite. Is that good? It's very good, Sarah smiled. It means more financial stability, David explained, and more flexible hours. I'll be home more. Maya smiled wide. More time to help me with math? As much time as you want. After dinner, while Maya was in the bath, Sarah and David sat in the living room. Our lives have completely changed, David said. For the better. Absolutely. I can't imagine this house without her anymore. It's like there was always an empty space we didn't know was there. And now it's full. Sarah nodded, listening to Maya sing in the shower, the same lullaby she now played on the piano. David, do you regret anything? The way it all happened? Becoming parents in the most unexpected way? He smiled. Not for a second. Even with the legal uncertainty? Sarah, look at her. Look at us. Paperwork doesn't make a family. Love does. That night, Maya appeared at their bedroom door. Can't sleep? Sarah asked. I can. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for what? For letting me be part of your family. Sarah got up and hugged her. Sweetheart, you're not part of our family. You are our family. Forever? Forever. And for the first time since arriving at the Mitchells' home, Maya slept through the night without a single nightmare, secure in the quiet certainty that she had finally found the one place in the world where she truly belonged. A year had passed since Maya had entered the Mitchells' lives. It was a crisp spring morning when the phone rang during breakfast. Sarah answered, expecting a call from the hospital, but the voice on the other end made her freeze. Dr. Mitchell? This is Roberto Santos, Jennifer Santos's brother. Sarah felt her blood run cold. Maya, eating cereal at the table, looked up as soon as she heard her mother's name. How can I help you? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I just learned about my niece. I came from Los Angeles as soon as I found out. She's all I have left of my sister. This time, the words were different. Genuine emotion carried through the line, not just a legal claim. Mr. Santos, Maya has been in our care for over a year. She's doing well here. I understand you've been very kind, Dr. Mitchell. But Jennifer was my only family, and Maya is my only family now. I need to be there for her. David, having overheard the conversation, was already on the phone with a colleague specializing in family law. His voice was tense. James, we have a situation. Maya's uncle just showed up claiming custody. At the hospital, Margaret Torres welcomed Roberto Santos with more seriousness this time. He arrived prepared, not with a cheap lawyer, but with a well-organized folder full of documents, photos, and evidence of a rebuilt life. Roberto was 40, but looked younger. He had lost weight, and his eyes were clear. signs of true sobriety. He brought childhood photos with Jennifer and letters she had written to him over the years. "Why now?" Margaret asked. "Jennifer cut me off when my alcoholism got worse. She said I couldn't be around Maya until I got clean." Roberto pulled out a sobriety chip. "I've been clean for 2.5 years. I have a steady job, my own apartment, weekly therapy." Sarah looked through the documents. Everything seemed legitimate. Roberto really had changed. "Maya didn't even know you existed," Sarah said. "Jennifer made me promise to stay away until I was healthy. I promised her that when I got better, I'd come back to be the uncle Maya deserved." Roberto opened a small box filled with handwritten letters. "Jennifer wrote to me about Maya. Look at the dates, right up until weeks before the accident. She wanted me to meet my niece once I was ready." Margaret examined the letters. Jennifer's handwriting was clear and unmistakable. "Roberto, Maya asks about the uncle I've told her about. When you're better, I want the two of you to be part of each other's lives." Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. This wasn't the troubled uncle she had prepared herself to confront. "Mr. Santos, you understand Maya has a full life here. School, friends, therapy." "I do, and I'm not trying to take that away from her." Roberto took a deep breath. "I want to give her what Jennifer always hoped she'd have, a full family. You've done an amazing job, but she deserves to know her roots too." David arrived with James Morrison, but the case they were facing now was far more complicated. "Gentlemen," James began, but his usual confidence had waned. "This is going to be more difficult than we thought." That afternoon, Maya met Roberto for the first time. The meeting took place in Margaret's office, carefully structured and monitored. Roberto brought a photo album. "Hi, Maya. I'm Roberto, your mom's brother." Maya stayed close to Sarah, but her curiosity was clearly piqued by the pictures. "This is your mom at 5, Roberto said gently. "She was already as strong-willed as you." Maya stepped a little closer. "My mom talked about you sometimes. She said she had a brother who was sick, but getting better." Roberto blinked back tears. "She was right. I was very sick, but I got better, just like she said I would." Maya looked through the photos. Her mother as a child, laughing with Roberto, moments from a happy family she had never known. "Why didn't you ever visit me?" "Because your mom made me promise not to come back until I could be the kind of uncle you deserved. She was protecting you. From me." Maya went quiet, taking it all in. "Are you here to take me away?" she asked bluntly. Roberto hesitated, glancing at Sarah. "I want to get to know you. I want to be part of your life. But I can see how you look at Dr. Mitchell. That's real love. I'm not here to destroy that." "Then why come at all?" Maya's voice, as always, cut straight to the point. "Because I promised your mom that if something happened to her, I'd be here. And because you deserve to know her family too." This meeting ended differently. Maya wasn't angry, just confused. Roberto had planted a seed of genuine doubt. In the car, she stayed quiet for a long time. "He seems nice," she finally said. Sarah's chest tightened. "Yeah, he does. But I don't want to go with him. I want to stay with you." What if we all got to know each other better first?" Roberto had suggested at the end of the meeting. "Maybe a few weekends together." That night, Maya appeared in Sarah and David's bedroom at 2 in the morning. "Can't sleep?" Sarah asked. "I'm confused. He brought pictures of Mom I've never seen, stories she never told." Sarah pulled Maya into her arms. "It's okay to be confused, sweetheart." "Mom, can I ask you something hard?" "Of course. What if my mom really wanted me to be with him? What if those letters were her way of saying you were just supposed to take care of me until he was ready?" It was a question more mature and complex than Sarah had expected from a child. "I don't know, Maya. Those are really hard questions. I love you, more than anything. But I want to know my mom's stories too." David sat up in bed. "Maya, no matter what happens, our love for you won't change. If you want to know your uncle, we'll support that. But will you fight for me? We'll fight for what's best for you," Sarah said softly, "even if it's hard for us." Maya nodded, but Sarah saw something in her eyes she had never seen before, a real doubt about where she belonged. This wasn't going to be a simple battle. It was going to be more complicated than anyone had imagined. 3 weeks later, everyone met at the Suffolk County Family Court. The courtroom was more crowded than usual. The case had caught the attention of the local media. Doctor versus recovered. Uncle. Who deserves the child? Was the Boston Herald's headline. Maya wore the blue dress Sarah had picked out for her, but her hands were trembling. Over the past few weeks, she had spent 2 weekends with Roberto, returning each time more confused. Judge Harrison studied the case files for several long minutes before beginning. "This is one of the most complex cases I've ever presided over," he said, adjusting his glasses. "We have 2 parties with valid claims, and a child whose well-being is at the heart of this matter." James Morrison stood, but his usual confidence had noticeably waned. "Your Honor, Maya Santos has spent the last 15 months thriving with the Mitchells. They literally rescued her from abandonment." He gestured toward documents, but now faced a far more prepared opponent. Roberto's attorney, Mr. Chen, a seasoned family law specialist, not the inexperienced lawyer from before, rose. "Your Honor, my client does not dispute the admirable role the Mitchells have played, but Jennifer Santos, while alive, clearly expressed her wish that her brother would care for Maya once he recovered." Chen presented Jennifer's original letters, backed by handwriting analysis, confirming their authenticity. These letters, written as recently as 3 weeks before her death, demonstrate that she hoped Roberto would become part of Maya's life. "My client has fulfilled every condition his sister set for him." The judge examined the letters carefully. "Mr. Morrison, how do you respond to this evidence?" James hesitated. For the first time in years, he didn't have a solid answer. "Your Honor, the intentions of a deceased parent matter, yes, but the child's present well-being must remain the priority." The judge called Maya to the stand. She walked forward with hesitant steps. "Maya, do you understand why we're here today?" "Yes, sir. To decide if I'll live with Sarah and David or with my uncle Roberto. Do you have a preference?" Maya looked at Sarah, then at Roberto, then back to the judge. For a long moment she was silent. I love Sarah and David. They saved me when I had no one." Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. "But," Maya continued, "in the past few weeks, Uncle Roberto showed me pictures of my mom I'd never seen. He told me stories about her. He helped me understand who I am." Sarah's heart sank. "My mom wrote about him. She said she wanted me to meet him when he was better. And now, he's better." Roberto discreetly wiped away a tear. "So what do you want, Maya?" the judge asked gently. I don't know." Her voice cracked. "It's really hard to choose. Can I have both? Can I live with Sarah and David but still see Uncle Roberto too?" The judge made careful notes, visibly moved by the child's honesty. "Thank you, Maya. You may sit down." Sarah was then called to testify, her hands trembling. "Dr. Mitchell, how do you feel about Maya's request to maintain contact with her uncle?" Sarah took a deep breath. "If it's what's best for Maya, we'll support it. But she has a life built here, with friends, school, and stability. And if the court were to decide she should live with Mr. Santos," the question Sarah had feared most, "it would be devastating for us. But we'd fight for visitation rights. Maya is our daughter now, no matter where she lives." Roberto was next to take the stand. "Mr. Santos, are you prepared to be the primary parent for a 10-year-old child?" "Yes, Your Honor. I have a 3-bedroom apartment, a school picked out, and a therapist who specializes in childhood trauma. But," Roberto paused, But I see how Maya looks at Dr. Mitchell. I don't want to break that bond. I want to honor my sister's memory, and she always wanted Maya to have a complete family." "And what does that mean to you?" "It means that if I'm granted custody, I would want the Mitchells to remain in close contact. Maya needs all of us." The judge seemed genuinely surprised by the response. During the recess, Maya approached Sarah in the hallway. "Mom, I'm really scared." Sarah hugged her, trying to hold back her own tears. "I'm scared too, sweetheart. What if the judge makes me choose? How do I pick between you and getting to know my mom's family?" "Maya," David said, kneeling beside her, "sometimes there are no easy choices, but what matters is that you're loved, and you are, by all of us." Roberto walked over cautiously. "Maya, can I talk to you for a second?" Sarah wanted to object, but held back. "I want you to know," Roberto said, "that no matter what the judge decides, I'll be part of your life now. If you stay with Dr. Mitchell, I'll visit as often as I can. If you come with me, they'll always be welcome." Maya looked at Roberto, then at Sarah. Why can't we just be one big family? Why does it have to be one or the other? Her innocent question left the adults speechless. When they returned, the judge looked visibly conflicted. This is the most difficult case of my career, he admitted. We have a child who loves both sides, and both sides who clearly love her, and legitimate claims on each end. The room was silent. After much reflection, and considering Maya's own request, I hereby order the following. Primary custody will remain with the Mitchells, who have proven to be exemplary caregivers. Sarah nearly buckled from the rush of relief. However, the judge continued, Roberto Santos is granted extensive visitation rights, alternating weekends, half of all school breaks, and shared decision-making on education and healthcare matters. Roberto nodded, clearly emotional but accepting of the outcome. Furthermore, said the judge, I strongly recommend all parties work with a family mediator to ensure Maya maintains healthy and balanced relationships with everyone involved. Maya ran to Sarah but then reached for Roberto's hand too. So I get to have all of you? She asked. Yes, said the judge, smiling for the first time. You get to have a very big family. Outside the courthouse, under the warm spring sun, an expanded family began to take shape. More complicated than they'd planned, but perhaps richer because of it. Thank you, Roberto said to Sarah, for saving my niece. Thank you, Sarah replied, for reminding us that love doesn't have limits. Maya held both their hands tightly, finally at peace. Because she no longer had to choose between her past and her present. She could have both. 3 years had passed since the court's decision. Maya was now 13, and adolescence had arrived in full force. The sweet, grateful little girl had given way to a typical teenager, questioning everything, sometimes rebellious, searching for her own identity. It was a Saturday morning when the first big blow-up happened. I don't want to go to Uncle Roberto's today, Maya shouted, throwing herself dramatically onto the couch. I want to hang out with my friends. Sarah took a deep breath. The bi-weekly visits to Roberto, once something Maya looked forward to, had become a frequent source of conflict. Maya, you know the visits are court-ordered. The judge decided that. The judge doesn't control my life, I do. David stepped into the kitchen doorway, recognizing the tone. It was the third argument that week. Maya, watch your tone with your mother. She's not my mother, Maya snapped, the words flying out before she could stop them. My real mom is dead. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. She knew this was typical teen behavior, but that didn't make it hurt any less. Maya instantly realized she'd gone too far. Her eyes filled with a mix of anger and regret. I didn't mean it. Sarah walked over calmly. But you said it, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel how you feel. No, it's not okay, Maya began to cry. I love you, but sometimes I'm just so confused about who I am. David sat beside her on the couch. Tell us, what's confusing you? Maya wiped her tears with the sleeve of her One Direction t-shirt. At school, everyone has normal family stories. Grandparents, cousins, uncles. I have this complicated thing. And when I tell someone new, they always look at me with pity. And how does that make you feel? Sarah asked gently, sitting on her other side. Like I'm broken, like my life is too sad. Sarah and David exchanged a glance. They'd prepared for this phase, but nothing prepared you for living it. Maya, Sarah said softly, your story isn't sad. It's different, and different isn't bad. Easy for you to say. You don't have to explain why your parents are almost 50 when you're 13. It was a fair point. Sarah was 46, David 49, older than most of Maya's friends' parents. Are you ashamed of us? David asked plainly. Maya hesitated, the kind of honest pause teens take when facing uncomfortable truths. Sometimes, she admitted quietly. Not of you, just of the situation. When people ask if you're my grandparents, Sarah felt a small sting, but also pride in Maya's honesty. And what do you say? I say you're my parents, but then I have to explain everything. And you don't want to explain? Sometimes I just want to be normal, have a normal story, normal parents. David nodded. We get that. But you know normal is overrated, right? Maya gave a small smile through her tears. That's what all the weird parents say. The joke broke the tension, and they all laughed. At school, Maya faced other classic teen challenges. She joined the drama club and discovered a talent for writing scripts. But she also struggled with self-esteem and identity. Maya's doing well academically, her school counselor told Sarah and David during a meeting. But socially, she sometimes pulls away. In what way? Sarah asked. She has a few close friends but avoids bigger events. When I ask, she just says she doesn't fit in. At home, Sarah brought it up. Mrs. Peterson said you skipped the school dance. Maya was in her room, supposedly doing homework, though she was really texting on her phone. Dances are dumb. Or, were you scared to go? Maya stopped pretending to study. Maybe. Scared of what? That someone would ask about my family. That I'd have to explain everything again. Sarah sat on her bed. Sweetheart, your story is part of who you are. It's not something to hide. But it's exhausting. Always explaining. Always seeing people's pity faces. What if you changed how you tell it? What do you mean? Instead of telling it like a tragedy, tell it like an adventure. A love story. Proof that families can be made in unexpected ways. Maya thought about that. You really think my story's cool? I think it's incredible. You're a survivor. A kid who lost everything and rebuilt a life. That's not sad. It's powerful. A few weeks later, Maya had to write an essay in English class titled, My Greatest Influence. Instead of choosing a celebrity or historical figure, she wrote about Sarah, but not an idealized version, an honest one. My greatest influence is my adoptive mom, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She's not perfect. She can be overprotective. She worries too much. And yes, she's older than most of my friends' parents, but she taught me that family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. The essay won first place in the school contest. I'm proud of you, Sarah said when Maya showed her the certificate. Why? Because I won. Because you had the courage to tell the truth about us, to stop hiding who we are. Maya smiled, then grew serious. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret it? Adopting me? Your life would have been easier without me. The question caught Sarah off guard. Maya, look at me. Adopting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yes, being a teen's mom is hard, but you gave my life purpose. Even when I'm impossible, especially when you're impossible, because that means you feel safe enough to be yourself around me. Maya hugged her, a real hug, not the quick obligatory ones that had become routine. Thank you for not giving up on me when I'm difficult. I'll never give up on you. That's what moms do. That night, Maya showed up in her parents' bedroom, something she hadn't done in months. Can I sleep here? Like when I was little? Of course. Maya curled up between Sarah and David, just like she used to in those first nights after Jennifer passed away. You know I love you guys, right? Even when I'm a monster? We know, said David. And you know we love you, even when you're a monster? Maya laughed. Even when I say you're not my real parents? Even then, Sarah confirmed. Because we know you don't mean it. How do you know? Because you always come back to us. Always. Maya was quiet for a moment. It's true. Even when I'm mad, you're still my safe place. And that night, the Mitchell family slept together again, reminded that love, real love, can weather even the wildest storms of growing up. 8 years had passed since the court's decision. Maya was now 18 and just days away from graduating high school as class valedictorian. It was a sunny May morning when she woke up early, nervous but determined. Today wasn't just special because of her graduation. It was also the day she'd share a long-held dream with Sarah and David. In the kitchen, Sarah was making a special breakfast. Pancakes with strawberries, Maya's childhood favorite. David adjusted his tie, beaming with pride at the young woman their daughter had become. Feeling nervous about your speech? Sarah asked, sliding a plate onto the table. A little, Maya admitted, but it's the good kind of nervous. I'm excited to tell my story. David smiled. Your story's going to inspire a lot of people today. Maya took a deep breath. Actually, I have some news for you both. Sarah and David paused, attentive. I got my acceptance letter yesterday. Harvard, pre-med, full scholarship. Sarah dropped her fork, stunned. David stood up and wrapped Maya in a tight hug. Maya, that's incredible. Harvard. Sarah had tears in her eyes. I always knew you could do it. And there's more, Maya added with a smile. I want to specialize in pediatric emergency care, work with children in crisis. Like you once were, she said to Sarah. I want to be the kind of doctor who finds lost kids and helps them find their way home. The graduation ceremony was deeply emotional. Maya looked radiant in her blue cap and gown, an academic merit medal hanging around her neck. When it was her turn to speak as valedictorian, her voice rang out clear and confident. Fellow classmates, families, and teachers, she began. Today isn't just about the end of one journey. It's about the beginning of so many others. And I want to tell you about second chances. She looked out at Sarah and David in the crowd. 9 years ago, I was a 9-year-old girl, alone, scared, without a family, without a future, until a doctor found me eating scraps off the ground in a park and decided I deserved better. The auditorium fell into a hush. Dr. Sarah Mitchell didn't see me as a problem to be solved or a burden to bear. She saw me as a possibility. She and her husband David gave me more than a home. They gave me identity, purpose, and hope. Maya paused, her voice catching with emotion. Today, I graduate with top honors. In the fall, I'll begin my studies at Harvard, pursuing a degree in medicine. I want to become a pediatrician because I've learned that a single act of compassion can completely change the course of someone's life. She smiled through her tears. Family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about unconditional love. It's about the people who see the best in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. The crowd rose to its feet in a standing ovation. Sarah cried openly. David's smile beamed with quiet pride. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, for showing me that every ending can be a new beginning. After the ceremony, people approached Maya from all sides. Fellow students who had been adopted, families going through the adoption process, teachers moved to tears. Your story gave me hope, one woman said. We've been trying to adopt an older child, and I've been scared. Don't be, Maya answered. Love doesn't have an age limit. It's never too late to become a family. That night, the Mitchells hosted a celebration at home. Family friends, Sarah's hospital colleagues, David's law partners, and Maya's classmates filled the house. Maya was radiant, sharing her plans for Harvard with joy and confidence. Margaret Torres, now retired but still close to the family, pulled Sarah aside. You saved that girl, she said softly. Actually, Sarah replied, she saved us. David and I were trapped in our grief, in our struggle with infertility. Maya showed us there's more than one way to build a family. Later that evening, after the last guest had left, Maya sat with Sarah and David on the back porch, the same place they had shared heart-to-heart since she was little. I want to do something special before I leave for Harvard, Maya said. What is it? David asked. I want to start a foundation for orphaned children and families looking to adopt. I want to make it easier for them to find each other. Sarah reached for Maya's hand. What would you call it? Maya smiled. The New Beginnings Foundation. Because every child deserves a chance to start over, with a family that loves them. It's perfect, David said, and we're all in. 2 weeks later, Maya received an unexpected phone call. It was Margaret Torres. Maya, there's a 7-year-old girl at the hospital. Her situation is a lot like yours once was. No family. Scared. Sarah's handling her medical case, but she needs someone who understands. Maya finished for her. Exactly. Would you be willing to talk to her? Maya didn't hesitate. Of course. I'm on my way. At Children's Hospital, Maya walked into a familiar room. A small girl with curly black hair and wide, anxious eyes sat quietly. It was the same room where Maya's biological mother had once been. Hi, Maya said gently. I'm Maya. Mind if I sit with you? The girl nodded shyly. What's your name? Sophia, she whispered. Sophia is a beautiful name. You know something? When I was your age, I was scared and alone too. Sophia's eyes widened. What happened? A very special doctor found me. She took me home. Now she's my mom. Your real mom? The realest there is. Because she chose me, and I chose her. Maya stayed with Sophia for an hour, telling stories, showing family photos, explaining how love sometimes shows up in the most unexpected places. When she left the room, Sarah was waiting in the hallway. How is she? Sarah asked. Scared but strong. Just like I was. Sarah smiled. You were amazing with her. You've got a gift. I learned from the best, Maya said, hugging Sarah tightly. You know what I think, Sarah said. The circle is completing itself. You were given love when you needed it most. And now, you're passing it on. Maya nodded. That's how it works, isn't it? Love grows when it's shared. And in that moment, standing in the very hospital where her journey had begun, Maya fully understood her purpose. It wasn't just about becoming a doctor. It was about becoming a bridge between lost children and the families waiting to love them. The girl who once ate crumbs off the ground was now ready to help others find their way home. The circle of love and compassion had come full circle, and a new generation of miracles was just beginning. 10 years later, Dr. Maya Mitchell stood in the very same park where everything had begun. But now, she was on the other side of the story. At 28, a Harvard graduate specialized in pediatric emergency medicine, she was working at Boston Children's Hospital, the same place her adoptive mother had once brought her as a little girl. It was a crisp autumn afternoon. Golden leaves floated around the benches where she used to feed pigeons as a child. Maya wasn't alone. Sitting beside her was Sophia, now 17, the same girl she'd once helped get adopted by a loving family years earlier. Dr. Maya, Sophia said formally, though she felt more like a younger sister. Are you nervous? Maya smiled, adjusting her white coat with the embroidered name. Dr. Maya Mitchell, Pediatric Emergency Medicine. A little, she admitted, but it's the good kind of nervous. They were waiting for Sarah and David to arrive for a very special ceremony. Today, Maya would be officially named director of the hospital's new Family Support Department, a program she had created to connect hospitalized children with families willing to help. You know what I think? Sophia said. Your biological mom would be proud, and so would your heart mom. Maya nodded, her eyes misty. At 28, she had found the perfect balance between honoring her past and building a future. Sarah and David soon arrived. Now in their 50s, their hair had grayed, but their smiles were just as bright. Sarah still served as chief of pediatrics. David had become a family court judge, ironically presiding over cases like the one they once lived through. Ready, sweetheart? Sarah asked, hugging her tightly. More than ready, Maya replied. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. The ceremony was small, but meaningful. Margaret Torres, now 70, was there. Dr. Williams, who had quietly followed Maya's journey since childhood, was too. Several families who had been brought together through Maya's program filled the audience. Today we launch something truly special, Sarah said from the podium. A program born from the heart of someone who deeply understands what it means to be a child in need of a family. Maya stepped up to speak, her gaze sweeping over familiar faces, each touched by the same kind of miracle that had once saved her. When I was 9 years old, she began, I was lost, alone, without hope. A doctor found me right here in this park and decided I deserved a chance. Now, 19 years later, I've dedicated my life to doing the same for others. She gestured to the plaque that would soon be unveiled. Maya Mitchell Family Support Center, where every child finds home. This center will connect children who need families with families who need children, because I've learned that family isn't coincidence. It's choice, it's love, it's persistence. After the ceremony, Maya walked through the hospital hallways, not just as a doctor now, but as a department head. She paused at the same room where she had first met Sophia. Inside, a nurse was caring for an 8-year-old boy who had been found wandering the streets alone. How's he doing? Maya asked. Scared, but physically fine. We haven't been able to locate any relatives yet. Maya stepped into the room and knelt beside the bed. Hi, buddy. I'm Dr. Maya. What's your name? Lucas, the boy whispered. Lucas is a strong name. You know what? When I was your age, I was also scared and alone. And I was in this very hospital. Lucas's eyes widened. What happened to you? I found a family, the most incredible family in the world. And they taught me that sometimes the best things in life begin during the hardest moments. Maya spent the afternoon with Lucas, just as Sophia had once done with her, continuing the cycle of love and hope. At the end of the day, Maya met with Sarah and David in the park, where everything had started. They sat on the same bench where Sarah used to feed the pigeons. You know what moves me most? Sarah said. Watching how you turned your pain into purpose. I had the best teachers, Maya replied, holding both their hands. You taught me that pain can become compassion, that wounds can become healing. David smiled. And that one small decision to help someone can change generations. Maya looked around the park. Other families, other children, other stories were unfolding right before their eyes. You know what's the best part? That our story doesn't end with us. Every child we help will grow up and help others. Love multiplies endlessly. At that very moment, as if the universe wanted to seal her words, a woman walked by, pushing a stroller with a little girl inside. The child waved at Maya, who waved back with a smile. Another family, Sarah said softly. Another love story. Exactly, Maya replied. And some of those stories will start in the most unexpected ways. Maybe during a medical emergency, maybe in a park, maybe on an ordinary afternoon when someone decides that every child deserves to be loved. As the sun set over Boston, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, 3 people, united by something far greater than chance, sat together, knowing they had been part of something much bigger than themselves. The girl who once ate crumbs off the ground was now a doctor feeding hope. The woman who couldn't have children had become a mother to many. The man who once studied law now stood for families. And somewhere in Boston, another child in need of a home was about to find one. The circle continued, endless, beautiful, and fueled by the life-changing power of unconditional love. Because the greatest miracles don't happen in the heavens. They happen in human hearts, willing to love without limits. And this story, which began with a single act of compassion on a rainy afternoon, proved one timeless truth. Love always finds a way. Always. Did this story touch your heart? Then you won't want to miss the next video coming up on your screen. It's another true and emotional story that shows how even the smallest gestures can change lives forever. Click to watch now. I promise, it's worth it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so more people can be inspired by these stories of hope and love.